Coffee eclairs might be one of the most popular flavors around the world, but today we're going to make it even more delicious by adding pecan praline and making these completely vegan and gluten-free, so more of you folks out there can enjoy them too. So to get started with this recipe, go head to your course dashboard and find the recipe. You can print it out and you want to start preparing some of the components to this recipe. Now, of course, we have to make our vegan and gluten-free pâte à choux for our eclairs, and I've already gone ahead and prepared those, so they're all done and ready. You'll need to also prepare your pecan praline and your coffee and praline pastry cream. So I've already prepared ahead of time my eclair shells, my gluten-free eclair shells, and they have been into the freezer, and I'm going to refresh them just before I fill these today, so they are nice and fresh. And I've just pulled out a big tray. I'm going to pop them all on. And so preparing your eclairs like this is a fantastic way to manage your time, and especially if you're working in food service or you have your own business or catering, it's great. So I'm just going to, just separate them out a bit. We're going to pop those into an oven which has been preheated at 150 degrees Celsius for about 7 minutes. Allow them to cool and then we can fill these guys. So now that our gluten-free eclair shells have cooled down, we can start making some holes in the base for us to put our fillings inside. Now, I like to use one of these sharp tools, it's basically just a piping tip with a sharp edge, but you can also just use a knife to create the holes. And what I like to do is just start in the center and make one hole in the center and then two either side, like so. And then just carry on with the rest. So I've already prepared my coffee and pecan pastry cream. Now, if it's been sitting in the fridge for a while, I do recommend that you transfer it into a bowl and just whisk it up just to ensure that there are no lumps. And I've just set up a piping bag with a small, about 5 to 6 millimeter tip, and that's going to help us to be able to pipe into our eclairs. Now, I like to fill my piping bag up with maybe half of our pastry cream, just so it's easier to pipe in, and we can always fill it up more in a moment. I've also filled another piping bag just without a tip with some of our praline paste, and that's our pecan praline paste. So the first thing I'm going to do is pipe a little bit of our praline paste into each of the holes. Just a small amount. Now that's done, we can start filling our eclairs with our pastry cream. And I like to add pressure, and when I see it starting to come out the other side, I know that it's filled it up. Once your eclairs are filled, you can just scrape off that excess cream and just pop it back in your container. Now we can transfer our filled eclairs into the refrigerator for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to transfer my glaze into a bowl or a container that's just easier for us to dip our eclairs into. Now I'm going to test out one of my eclairs, dipping in and popping it on our tray just to make sure that our glaze is at the right texture. And it doesn't seem to be running, so I am happy with that. And you just want to give your glaze a stir in between when you are dipping them. So once all your eclairs are glazed, you can start putting on your garnishings. So now we can start decorating our eclairs. Now I've melted some vegan chocolate, some dark chocolate and some white chocolate, and I've made some little cones out of paper and I'm going to drizzle some on. Now I do notice, especially with the white chocolate, when you're working with the vegan white chocolate, it's a good idea to add some cocoa butter to it. And I get this cocoa butter that's like in these small callets, or you can just chop it up fine and add a little bit to your chocolate. And what that's going to do is just make it more fluid. Now I didn't temper these chocolates, I didn't worry about doing that. So I just melted a small amount in the microwave in 15 to 30-second intervals. And I'm just going to cut that end off just a tiny bit. Yep, that looks good. Place our glassy candied pecans on top.